I'd like to tell you about something that I learned about recently that I think a lot of Americans aren't that familiar with, if at all. Um, Everybody knows about the Vietnam War. Everybody's seen a movie about the Vietnam War, Apocalypse Now, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, right? But and a lot of people know about the bombing campaign in Cambodia, which is adjacent to Vietnam. But there's another country in French Indochina that unfortunately found itself involved in the conflict from 1964 to 1973. And it is the poorest country in that region at the time. And it's a country that was neutral towards the United States. It never declared war on the United States. It never attacked the United States. And that country is Laos. And the reason why Laos became involved is that the North Vietnamese invaded it to use it as a route to South Vietnam so that it could get supplies to the Viet Cong. If you're not familiar with the Vietnam War, essentially communists took over in the north and wanted to unite all of Vietnam under their communist government. This was the government of Ho Chi Minh, and there were rebels in the south that I'm sure you've heard of, the Viet Cong, who were in favor of the unification, but the rest of the South was not, and so the United States got involved to fight on behalf of the South to keep communism out of South Vietnam. And so Laos was a good supply route for the North Vietnamese to the Viet Cong. And they invaded, and in 1964, Richard Nixon's CIA began what was known as Operation Barrel Roll, which was a bombing campaign, and a secret bombing campaign that lasted for 9 years and would drop 270 million bombs on this country in an effort to disrupt the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the supply route to the Viet Cong. In the process, they would go on to kill, some estimates are as high as 200,000 innocent civilians, and they would also leave behind an estimated 80 million, or about a third, of all the bombs that were dropped would be left unexploded, undetonated bombs left in this country. And again, most of this was going on secretly. A lot of this stuff was not declassified until the year 2000. So for about 30 years, a lot of this stuff was kept secret. And since then, because of all the bombs that were left undetonated, Laotians have died every single year. A farmer plows over one, a kid finds one, and half of the people who were killed or maimed by these unexploded bombs were children. And part of the reason for this is that the bombs, which are called cluster bombs, are small and round like a softball or a tennis ball. And they're brightly colored so that you can see them easily. Bright yellow or orange, bright green. So to a child, it might look like a toy. But if a child picks one up, it might blow off their arms, which has happened many, many times. In fact, in the early years after the Vietnam War, an estimated 250 Laotians were killed every single year by these unexploded bombs after the war was over. And to this day, still about once a week, someone in Laos is killed because they find one of these bombs. So one of the worst things I think that the United States has ever done. And there's a cleanup effort now that is so the effort that has gone into this cleanup campaign is nothing like the effort that went into bombing Laos in the first place. I've read that at the rate that the bombs are cleaned up today, it will take 400 years before they're all gone. And so this is a problem that Laos is just, I guess, destined to have to deal with forever from their perspective. And here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. The worst part of all of this is that if the goal was to disrupt the Ho Chi Minh Trail, not only did it not work because the Viet Cong was pretty savvy and they were quite capable of working around the bombing, not only did it not work, but the bombing campaign destroyed Laos so badly that when the Vietnam War came to an end, in 73 or 75, when the communists took over all of Vietnam, it also was able to take over Cambodia and Laos. See, there were rebel groups in those countries as well. I believe in Laos they're called the Pathet Lao, and because the country was so weakened and the royal Lao government was so defeated when the United States pulled out of this bombing campaign, the Pathet Lao were able to take over. And so communism swept Lao. The United States essentially helped communism sweep over all of French Indochina because of these bombing campaigns. So just remember, that while Americans were opening presents and drinking eggnog on Christmas Eve, 1971, there were children that were finding what they thought were toys and getting their limbs blown off. And you can thank Richard Nixon for that, and you can thank the CIA for that.
Richard Nixon dropped a lot of bombs on Laos, and it's a shame the CIA cannot be trusted, because you should know that they left a lot of bombs, and the reason that it matters is Laotians still step on them to this day. How would you feel if your kid brought home a tennis ball, went outside to have a catch? Next thing you know, the dog is scattered all across the yard. So much for playing, so much for playing fetch.
And if you think that's bad, wait till you hear what the Mesa Police Department did to a young man named Daniel Shaver in 2016. See you in 2 weeks.